Hi everyone in the world of cloud computing, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Cloud Computing Training Show with Brad Nelson and internationally recognized and world's #1 cloud industry expert and thought leader, David Linthicum. This show is sponsored by Nelson Hilliard, cloud computing recruitment specialist, placing great people in cloud, IoT, fintech and AI. In this week's show, David and I will be talking about the concerns among university professors regarding the cost of teaching cloud computing. Hi Dave, great to see you back on the show and welcome to another cloud computing training show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one because I was a college professor for 10 years and I want to understand more about this concern.
What are your thoughts and should universities take the lead in cloud computing training, or do you think it should be left to the cloud providers and the on-demand training companies?
I think the on-demand training companies and the cloud providers are going to do a great job in providing certifications for their specific technologies. And so if you're looking for AWS certifications or Microsoft Azure certifications, those are the places to go. But computer science courses in colleges and universities need to keep up with technology. And so cloud computing is where everything is going. And, it was very difficult when I was teaching college and when I was in college to kind of get people interested into state-of-the-art stuff. So I kept proposing courses in terms of what we should be doing in terms of object-oriented development and component-based development and, data integration training and things like that. And they stuck to more structured analysis and design and, learning COBOL. And I think that the world wasn't going that way. We weren't teaching the skills needed by the students so they can go out there and get a job and be successful and, really kind of make it in the world. And so colleges really need to be held accountable for that. I mean, the cost of a college education has increased, 20-fold in the last 20 years. And so, well, get some content. So you get some professors who understand this stuff, whether they're adjuncts or they're contractors, who can teach people, cloud architecture, who can teach people compiler design on AWS, who can teach people database design in the cloud. And all these things are going to be relevant by the time they get out. If they teach them the old stuff, such as traditional relational databases and mainframe-based programming and C, and Java, and not Node.js and Python and some of the more modern languages, they're really doing them no favors. I understand they're teaching the constructs of programming, but they're not really providing them the skills to make it happen. So my advice to these guys would be to push back. So in other words, you can afford it. You can't not afford it. You have to go ahead and update your skills and get the right people in the organizations. Quit, doing the research. Focus on teaching the kids who go to college, and make them ready and prepared to go off and get a job. Once they get out of college, and that's what they get for their $200,000 they spend on college. So I think these sorts of things are just ridiculous, and I would absolutely chastise, professors in these colleges and universities who are complaining about, moving into new technologies. You're going to be moving into new technologies for the next 100 years in terms of IT development. And so get used to it, get over it, and become good at what you do. And therefore you can prepare these students to get their money's worth and go out and get a job.
Yes, absolutely. Do you think there's not only a fear around the cost, but also the speed at which technology is developing, that universities can turn these courses around, go through the protocols that they would need to go through, the bureaucracy and the red tape, in order to make sure that the courses they're going to be relevant for the monies that are being paid for these courses, not only at the expense of the university's investment into producing the course, but equally for the people that are funding their own education?
Yeah, there's, again, no excuse. I mean, I have to go out and do presentations every week and do a lot of public speaking, and those have to be updated to the state of the art of what's going on, or else I wouldn't be invited to speak and I'd be laughed off the stage. So college professors, I understand that you want to use your same slide decks that you used the last 10 years and not necessarily do a lot of real work about keeping up with the technology. That's part of what you need to do. That's part of what I pay for. If I'm going to take a course at a university, that's part of what I pay for. I'm learning from a person who understands what's going on now. So when I go out into the world, I can get a foothold into the industry I want to get into and kind of hang on and run for the ride. And if you don't do that, then that capability is really just not going to be within the college and university. And then I would advise the IT people not to go. I really would. I would tell them, go to a community college and, take some courses, do some online training. But if you're not going to get the technical training you need from the colleges and universities that are going to be relevant to, what you do in the real world as part of your career, then there's no reason for them to exist. And I look at these college universities charging $100,000, $200,000 a year, and these students here taking loans that they can't pay back, for years and years and years. It would be upsetting to me if they did not live up to that expectation.
Yes, you're right. There's a huge investment from the part of the person that's trying to get educated, and there's a deficit of the acknowledgement of what needs to be taught in order to get that justified return on that investment. Without having to, do some sort of menial work just to pay off a debt of something that you've learned that's got no relevance. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah, that's it. And we really should start holding colleges accountable for teaching things that are relevant. And all over the world. I mean, it's a problem in Australia, it's a problem in the UK, it's a problem in Europe. Excuse me. It's a problem in Australia, it's a problem in the UK, it's a problem in Europe. And the reality is that they are a business, they're delivering a service, and that service better be up to par, or we're going to go down the street and use some other service that's typically going to be cheaper and better and provide more relevant training. And I think colleges are going to run into that. They're going to find that the competitors in other universities are going to provide better educations where people can actually make more money. Those metrics are going to become known to us, and that's where people are going to flock.
Would you say in the future that there's going to be more opportunities for partnerships between cloud providers and universities supporting each other with regards to educational facilities for students that potentially could be future employees of that organization?
Yeah, there's internships now, which I really like, which is, underpaid slave labor in essence that, go into the corporations. But usually they're very sharp young people that do a tremendous job, and we can teach them a lot in terms of what's going on in the organizations. And certainly the cloud providers should do the same thing. As far as them influencing the professors and providing them a slideware content, I think that is, something that the colleges need to be proactively and take advantage of. So they need to go out and reach out to the cloud providers. And some of this has occurred, by the way. There's some cloud providers that are, cooperating with universities, things like that. But generally speaking, the professors who are teaching computer science classes don't like to take content from technology providers. And so they would probably push back on that. They'd rather stick on their basics and the fundamentals and, understanding compiler design and, all these things that we've been learning for, throughout the years as a computer science, student, and they're missing the boat. So in other words, if you're able to get this content, you're able to get this training in this book and this material and probably investment, they'll give them money to go off and do this stuff. And I take advantage of it because, of course they're promoting their company. Apple gave computers to elementary schools because they're promoting Apple over the years. And AWS and other folks who are working with universities are going to, look for a quid pro quo in what they do. But the reality is they can benefit from it. And I think that universities, really need to reach out to the technology providers to, figure out where things are going. But, I've noticed that I haven't seen many computer science courses that include cloud. I've taught a few adjunct courses over the years, but it's typically a 1 day, 2 day thing. It's never really kind of a core set of concepts. And the feedback I get from the students who come up after my lectures is that, we don't have a course that really tells us about this. We would love to learn about this, and we have to learn about it on our own. So they're paying for training they don't necessarily want, and they're not getting training that they necessarily need. I think colleges need to get a clue and understand that they're teaching technology. Technology is going to change over time, and things are going to change over time. You have to keep up with it in order to produce people that are going to be relevant in the marketplace and be able to sell their skills in the marketplace. And that's their job. Their job is not to be a great institution that we're great thinkers and they write papers and things like that on concepts and things like that nobody really cares about. It's about building people who build systems, who understand the latest technology, can assemble this stuff correctly, put it in order, understand security, understand governance, understand the fundamentals. And as an employer, I would like to get people out of colleges that know that. And I'm going to be able to put them to work right away. And if they can't, they have to spend a couple of years finding themselves until they gather the skills they need to actually get the jobs that they want.
Yes, exactly right. And I think also there's a level of competitive edge that a university wants to have over its counterparts as well. So, if with a number of universities out there that aren't offering what's needed in the marketplace, or in the future job marketplace at least, they're going to see a decline in people going to that university because they're not keeping up with the at least the cloud computing trends and the future courses.
Yeah, I think they're seeing that already. I mean, alumni donations are down. Students are, not, taking courses that they don't believe they can get jobs in. It's well known that, there's certain majors that may be, fun to take, but aren't necessarily going to pay what you're looking for in the marketplace. And they're voting with their feet. Online universities are a big thing, at least here in the United States, are probably all over the world. And so people are opting to go that direction. I think that in 10 years, the majority of training that's going to be delivered through colleges and universities are going to be on-demand training on these online universities. And there's no reason it shouldn't be that way. There's nothing I did as a college professor that couldn't be recorded, perhaps even more quality, quality shows, kind of like what we're doing here, Brad, and disseminated out to people who need it, want it, stop it. They can start it. They can go back. They can read it again, and they can spend the time studying it. I think that that's much more effective than having you walk around a campus. It may not be as fun, and the fraternity parties may not be as fun to go to, and you may be missing some aspects of the college experience. And there's some social stuff around that, but that's the way it's going to go. And I think the integration of that content with common content that it's exchanged between universities, and also common content that's provided by technology vendors and cloud providers, is really going to be the standard. And by the way, college universities, if you're thinking about building a course curriculum, drop me a line, drop Brad a line. I'll talk to you about it, and tell you where you should be going, because ultimately this is the turning point, or the tipping point, where people are going to start morphing over this new way of understanding and training from the technology. And if you can't provide the right stuff at the right time in the right way, they're going to vote with their feet, and your college is going to be no more.
That's exactly right. There will be colleges that will be going out of business, as are there organisations that are going out of business for the lack of integrating cloud computing throughout their entire business at a fundamental level. So, people have just lost their market share almost overnight, haven't they?
Absolutely. And it's not just cloud computing, it's any new technology that comes along. And that doesn't mean you have to, chase every shiny object. We talked about that on the show as well. The reality is you should understand where the market is going and where the market is going to be for the skills and technology. And while there's some things such as machine learning and IoT, that may be in question, platform skills in terms of cloud computing is not in question. There's like 20 jobs, chasing one candidate out there. And your ability to kind of create students with these skills is going to empower them with the ability to kind of go off and take a market. And by the way, it's also going to empower the employers, excuse me, to hire the people they want to hire. And you're a recruiter, you're matching skill sets up with people who need the skill sets every day, and that's an important role. This is the ability to have the skill sets to get to the jobs. And I just think that we need to do a better job in kind of understanding where the market is going and making proactive plans in terms of adjusting our curriculum, in terms of how we're going after this thing, partnering with technology companies, and doing all the innovative things we need to do, to make this thing possible. And as a college professor, for 10 years, I didn't feel I wasted my time, but it was very frustrating for me to kind of live through that world. It was very difficult for me to get new courses online and get things sold, to the people who are bees. So I spent time doing, things that were antiquated, versus really kind of focusing on what was new and cool at the time. And, that's why I wouldn't be a college professor again. But college professors out there now need to get a clue.
They certainly do. Well, hopefully they will do, and hopefully they're watching this show and go, God, David's got a fair point on this one. So, Dave, I've got to put you on the spot for the Cloud Computing Training Show and ask you, what would be the 3 top courses that you would recommend that someone would implement immediately into their educational remit?
Sure. Cloud Computing Fundamentals, Core Concepts, Cloud Architecture, in terms of understanding the dynamics of cloud and how to build solutions out of cloud-based technology. And then advanced cloud architecture, including next generation cloud technology, including serverless IoT, machine learning-based systems. It would be those 3 that would get people the majority of the jobs.
Fantastic.
And none of those are technology independent. They're not talking about a particular kind of technology. It's general courses, which people like to teach in colleges and universities.
Well, that's great, Dave. I really appreciate that, and I think it's nice each week that we can talk about the topics around cloud computing training and the misconceptions and the myths behind what people should be doing and why they should be doing it, and also pointing them in the right direction. It's really nice to be able to add value each week to our audience about this. So, David, it's always a pleasure having you on this show. Thanks for being a part of the Cloud Computing Training Show.
My pleasure. And college students, go yell at your professors.
Yes, start raising those fists. Teach me something relevant. Excellent. Well, thanks again, Dave. Really appreciate that, and look forward to seeing you next week for Cloud Computing Training Show.
Look forward to it as well, Brad. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for watching this week's Cloud Computing Training Show. We hope you enjoyed it and found the content valuable. David and I go to great lengths each week to put these shows together to make sure that you're finding the content useful. So please remember to comment and let us know how you think about it and what your thoughts are. And please like, comment and subscribe to the channel, because each week David and I do 3 shows: Cloud Computing Australia, Cloud Computing for the C-suites and Cloud Computing Training. And you wouldn't want to miss out on all of those. And I also do a weekly news channel on the current affairs of cloud computing across the world. So thanks again for watching. David is on Twitter, which is at David Linthicum, and I'm on Twitter also at Nelson_Hilliard. And thanks again for watching the Cloud Computing Training Show. Look forward to next week's.